press record then for this session. Just check it's recording. Yeah, you are recording. Pause share. Pause recording stuff. Yeah, so we're recording now. Yeah, so we're on, can't decide whether it's classes or not. Learning Outcome 2, Chapter 2, whichever way you look at it. Understand and apply supply chain design tools and techniques. So it's a bit vague. This one was heavily examined on the old syllabus because it's very, very, very easy to examine. And they've varied between asking questions on lean and agile, or if we look at the old questions, which I'll send you, or you've got segmentation methods.
I've got a load of the old questions. They were only May and November, weren't they? There's not that many of them because they only run twice a year. That's right, isn't it? I haven't.
That's right.
Stuff. No,
very small numbers, yeah. And they've tended to have gone for segmentation because it's an easy one, or they've gone for lean and agile, you'll find on most. So they're the sort of banker ones. And segmentation, most people quite happy with from their marketing days. So approaches to segmentation, product and service mix, and strategies for different tiers. And nothing really new. So what's a market segment? Well, to segment a market, the market's got to be distinct, sizable, and actionable. Otherwise, you can't focus a product on it and market to it. So it has to have them sort of properties. This is from a marketing point of view. And that's sort of standard in all the marketing books. So if you do a sort of YouTube vid on market segmentation, it usually gives you that standard statement from Cotter. So what can we do when we segment? Well, we might not bother doing anything. We might just sell the same thing to everyone, which is called undifferentiated marketing. And can you see it talks there about the marketing mix? Can you define what that is? Depends how much marketing you've done, Claire. It's the combination of product, price, promotion, and place, the 4 Ps. So if you look at any marketing textbook or search on the internet, the marketing mix, some people might call it your marketing strategy. And it's your combination of how you price it, how you promote it, which channels you sell it through, and the price. So product, price, promotion, and place. So the alternative is to have a different product for each market segment, which is differentiated marketing. Yeah. And guess what? The other one is to just have one product, but don't sell it to everyone, aim it at a segment. So quite common sense, and I'm sure you could come up with examples of that if you had an exam. So it's whether you target each segment or go for a niche or what. So there are 3 broad strategies there. Fairly common sense. So obviously you could aim for young ones, old ones. You could segment it that way. Segmentation.
What were those 3 Ps? Sorry, I'm just going to make a note.
Yeah, the 4 Ps. Sorry, Claire. I think there's a slide coming up. Let me just check. It's product, price, promotion, and place.
Product,
price, promotion, and place. It's very similar to the 5 rights of procurement, isn't it?
Yeah.
It has ringtones of that. So, but basically, if you aren't doing very well selling on revenue, on sales, what can you do? You can either change your price of your product, you could change the product itself, features, you could promote it differently, and you could maybe distribute it or sell it different places. So that combination is called the marketing mix. And it's an important idea in marketing. You might call it your marketing strategy, which is how you price it, how you promote it, how you place it, etc. So the 4 Ps is a useful concept, and it links to segmenting. So do you have the same product and price for everyone, or do you have different prices for different customers and different products, which is probably more what happens in reality. You'll make products for particular segments and you'll price them accordingly. market them, etc. So that's a nice concept, I think. Generic segmentation can be geographic, are you Scottish, Irish or whatever. Demographic, are you a rich southerner or a poor northerner, etc. Are you old, are you young? Psychographic, lifestyle values, or behavioural, online shopper.
Just one minute, Dave, sorry.
Yeah. It could get a shock. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the marketing books are full of different ways of how to segment your customers. You know, it isn't just on how much to spend. It's these general things, geographic, demographic. So some good words there, and fairly easy to understand when you look at some examples.
Because you haven't got those 4 P's in your notes. You've got that.
Yeah, I don't think I have. No.
That's all right. That's fine. 4 products. Yeah. Read up in the book when it's in the study guide.
Yeah. There's a slide here which isn't one of mine, showing different segments and how you might sort of understand the needs, growth opportunities. So you can assess them to innovative solutions proven. That's, I think, more of a probably an IT or service centre view of segmenting, isn't it? Do they want a proven solution? Are they only interested in price? So there's different ways of segmenting. And supply chain then, how would we segment the supply chain? Well, it can be volume, profitability, risk, as in CrowdJack. And it can be, we could use segmentation there, portfolio. The other ways are Pareto. We've mentioned CrowdJack, which I don't want to spend too much time on, but that's a way of segmenting your suppliers. And you could also maybe, with that, use supplier preferencing. Are you an attractive customer, nuisance, etc.? And that would help you understand. That's the CrowdJack matrix, which is the original one. But the one in the study guide is that one, Claire. So perhaps shouldn't learn the original. CIPS don't use it very often, which has importance versus complexity. The one in most CIPS study guides are profit impact versus supply risk. And that's the one in this study guide, so I'd maybe stick to that one. The only thing then that varies in the CIPS study guides is some called non-critical routine. But other than that, it's the same. They do vary the vertical and horizontal axis, but most have that. So CrowdJack's obviously important for understanding suppliers. And obviously the key is to match the supply side up to the demand side and make sure we've got a match. The study guide shows this somewhere. Products can be categorized as commodity, strategic, key or standard, which is related to CrowdJack, but it's not quite that. And that was by someone called Bueller. Not a big fan of that product service one, but it's there. Not going to ask you about it. We've got another here which we'll cover more in section 3, which is called PADI. And that's a theory that's in section 3. And PADI is a theory from Gatorna that says there are 4 behavioural characteristics: pragmatic, development, and I forgot what the other 2 are, but we'll come on to it. So just park that one in your head, PADI.
You've got it in your guide. Collaborative, transactional, efficient, dynamic, demanding, innovative solutions.
Yes. No? Yeah, and that is a way of segmenting. I'm not a big fan of it, and we do cover that full model properly in section 3, Claire. So even though there's a little bit of it there, we come back to it in section 3. And to be honest, it's more a complete model of linking up the front end and the back end of your supply chain match up. We could tier the supply chain, and we cover that more in 2.2. but you've come across tiering before, and obviously it facilitates partnership relationships with tier 1, and tier 2 would be, the relationship would be with the tier 1 people. I'm sure this is in the guide, but this is the quality gaps, market perception. It's a bit like ServQual, where you get differences in what somebody wants to what you supply. I don't think I'd particularly learned that one. But this is more important, this model from Fisher. Now, Fisher basically said, this diagram's not good, is it, from the study guide? The market wants either functional products or innovative products, and the operations can be very efficient or very responsive. And it's very common sense. If the market wants functional products, operations need to be efficient, so that's a match. If the operation wants innovative products, then you need a responsive supply chain, and that's a match. And the other two quadrants, of course, don't match. You can't have efficient supply chain for innovative customers, and you can't have responsive supply chains if your customer only wants functional, low cost. So it makes it look very complex, but it's actually very common sense to say the supply chain that you configure depends upon whether your customer wants functional or innovative type products. That's the one that's often shown in the books without that complicated diagram. That's much simpler. Functional matches efficient, innovative matches responsive, which common sense. So you want probably lean top left, and what do you think you want bottom right? Responsive, innovative supply chains. If it's not lean, it would be
Agile mute then, agile.
Yeah, agile, yeah. And while this framework provides a powerful dichotomy, most companies struggle to clearly label products as functional or innovative, and it's not as clear cut as that. So the concept's useful, but it's in practice, I'm not sure how applicable it is to practitioners. There's another difference there between functional products, if you had to describe what one was. What's functional product? I don't know. Carpet cleaner, maybe. Innovative product, I suppose could be the new cordless vax, but there's a difference. Can you see life cycle, product variety, lead time? So it's different. You need a different supply chain. Christopher and Towell come up with 8 different segments, and it's in the study guide, but I really wouldn't go near it. And it talks about demand can be volatile or stable. The product can be a standard product or a special product. And then the lead time can be short and long. So if you like, rather than just saying, is the product functional or innovative, and we can be efficient or responsive, Towell's saying, well, actually, there's all these factors that impact on what supply strategy you need. And you need a different strategy for each of the segments. And there's 8 there. But I'm not sure how useful that is, to be honest, Claire. It's a bit of an obscure one that's been thrown into the study guide. I think the Fisher one's useful. It's fairly easy to understand. And if you had to say, how do you match products up with supply chains, this is a good, simple tool, whereas this one's quite difficult. That was the one in my notes, the Gatona one on collaborative, efficient, dynamic, innovative. So there are 4 different segments according to Gatona. So you need to have 4 different supply configurations, which would vary from lean to agile. And that was the one in my notes, collaborative,
Yeah.
transactional. So that's a way of segmenting, fairly common sense. If you want efficient ones, regular delivery, little sharing of information, it's pretty much transactional, efficient. Collaborative is what it is, dynamics what it is. They can't ask you about the 4, but they've asked many times how you would segment supply chains and customers. And part of an answer might be Gatona, but it would only be 3 or 4 marks in there. So it's not a high one. When we're managing the product and service mix, the study guide goes a bit OTT. It throws in Ansof's matrix. So you might consider developing the existing product for the existing market. You could develop new products for the same market or a new market, or you could go elsewhere. So Ansof's been thrown in. They're the strategies for Ansof. Top left, you could withdraw, consolidate, penetrate, or you could, the other three is develop, etc. It throws in the Boston matrix because that affects your product made portfolio. Have you too many dogs? Haven't you got a star? Have you too many problem child? So you need to have a balanced portfolio. So you might use that to assess your product mix. And that's a bit more on the Boston matrix, which I'm sure we've done at least once, haven't we, Claire? Boston matrix.
Oh yeah, just the once, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's particularly applicable to business, but if I suppose you could be in a company that's got a yesterday's product, which would be a dog. You'll have your new products being developed, and you've got your cash cows, the ones that are established that generate money. And I suppose at the end of the day, you have to gauge, when do you get rid of the dogs? Which question marks do you invest in? And how much money do you put into the star? So Boston matrix and Ansof can be thrown into the equation. The product life cycle, of course, impacts on your supply strategies, whether it's a new product or it's reaching decline stage. And Boston matrix is related to the PLC. Introduction might be the question marks, growth could be the stars, and maturity would be the cash cows. There's the marketing mix. Sorry, Claire, it's finally appeared here. It's possibly not in the right place there. Product, price, promotion, and place. Yeah. And you can vary each one of them P's or all of them to change the mix. And basically, that's all you can do in marketing. There's nothing else you can do. So that was 2.1. 2.2 is a bit wishy-washy. Network supply chains. Are you okay there with your dog?
No, it's being shit.
Hang on. Let me just pause a second, Claire. If I can find the button. So, yeah. Doesn't want to. There it goes. I'm recording. So, yeah, so marketing mix, pretty straightforward, but I think it's a new one for you. And then we're on to this network supply chains, of which tiering is in here. So we've got the various flows in the supply chain represented there in a diagram, which you've seen several times. Some goes left to right, some goes right to left, and some goes both ways. We can use value stream mapping in a supply chain, not just in our company, but we can use it in the supply chain. And you can see the standard diagram, transportation time, and you can work out the overall length and waste. So that's a useful technique. Network sourcing comes from the Japanese and their car industry, where you contract with just a few suppliers, and you might limit how much you buy from each one, but you're sort of working to develop JIT suppliers. So network sourcing is mentioned as a concept in the study guide. I'm not going to ask you, I don't think, about it. Tiering, we've covered already many times. Value chain analysis to understand how value is added and where the linkages are. One that, sorry, isn't covered well here. It's covered better in my Quizlet thing, and I'm going to amend the study guide slightly. So basically, network optimization modeling is a technique for improving cost efficiency and managing supply chain risk. So as opposed to enterprise profit optimization, this is where you're looking at your complete network and trying to come up with the best combination of distance, number of warehouses, all this to minimize costs. So you crunch all the numbers into a computer, if you like, pull the lever and it'll come out with a solution that's lowest cost. And you can put various things into this model and it will give you different solutions. So basically you have to describe all the activities, select the mix of strategies to minimize costs based on different demands, different costs, different capacity and factors. So it's quite a mathematical technique.
Carry on, I'm still here, I'm just bending down, so carry on. Yeah. Mathematical technique?
Yeah, there are 3 techniques that are in the Quizlet, and for some reason I don't think I put them in my notes. The centre of gravity, and 2 other methods which defeat me for the moment, but there are 3 mathematical models. I don't think they're named in the study guide, but I'm going to add them to my notes, and they're certainly on the Quizlet site. They're named in this book, which if you really have to have a copy, Chopper and Mendrel. They talk about these network models. Says Dave trying to find his book there, and I'll shout out 2 seconds. Yeah, there is. Come on, Dave. Network models. Capacitated plant location model. There was the center of gravity model, and one other model which seems to defeat me now, but I'll come back to that. So there are 3 mathematical methods, but you don't need to know them. You might just need to name them. And there's a process there. Identify the scenarios, build a norm structure, optimize it, determine the vision. So there's a 4-step process. Horrible, isn't it? And the study guide goes into, you need to consider raw materials, manufacturing processes, and demand fulfillment, which if you look back onto this slide, can you see they're the 3 things that you include in the model?
I seem to I'm stuck on like this value analysis in supply chains.
The which one, sorry, Claire?
I've still got the network optimization model slide on my screen.
Sorry, has it gone to that one?
There we go. Raw materials, manufacturing process, demand, fulfillment.
Yeah, so it's, yeah. So them 3 things are mentioned in the slide before, but no explanation. So there's NOM is new, and again, there's a little video on that that's worth a look at. But it is what it says, as it says on the can. It's how to optimize your supply network to minimize costs. You know, how many warehouses should you have? Where should they be? How much stock should you keep? What's the demand? So if demand changes, it might be a different structure you need. So do warehouses need to be near the customers? Do you want one central depot? All them decisions helps you optimize it. So a lot of number crunching goes on to do that. Reverse logistics is huge now. I can't remember if you did the logistics module.
Yeah, and we've done it a lot in it was covered in, what's the one I just done?
There's another one it's in, isn't it? It's in 2 modules.
MA?
Could have been. But of course, it's part of having a sustainable supply chain, making sure you've got cradle to grave, closed loop, all that terminology. So it's about returning, recycling, repairing, reusing. So as a concept, I think it's fairly easy to write about in an exam. Tiering, the study guide talks about 4 processes: managed, monitored, not managed, and non-member, which is horrendous. But when you look at the diagram, it's actually quite easy. This is from Licence and Farrington. So your tier 1 suppliers, you have management of them, so it's a thick line. Some processes are dotted lines that you're monitoring. Some are not managed, straight line, and some are dotted non-member process links. So depending where somebody is in the supply chain, the links between companies could be managed, monitored, not managed, or non-member. I think that diagram's the better one. So processes can be linked, but how they're linked varies depending where the company is in the supply chain. This is that 4-gap model again, which is better. Actually, it's probably better on that other diagram, which was too complex, about the improvement gap, the perception gap, the performance gap, and the improvement gap. And they're quality mismatches. I don't know why reverse logistics appeared again. Right, channel design. What do we mean by that? Do we sell direct?
Yeah.
Do we sell online? Do we sell to wholesalers? So it is about that. The Shopper and Mendel book, which isn't cited in the study guide, although much of the syllabus is on this book, has that diagram in, and it looks pretty horrendous, but it's not. It's saying first you need to set your supply chain strategy, and it shows the influences. Then you need to configure your regional facilities based on political, competition, production. Then you look at desirable sites, and then you pick the locations based on costs and costs. So Shopper and Mendel say that's how you go about designing the network. The study guide doesn't show that. It shows a simple diagram of the different types: selling direct, retail, wholesale. And this word intermediaries are obviously people in the middle, who can be wholesalers, agents, franchisees, etc. The study guide, though, does show this from Rosenblum, a 7-step design paradigm. Recognise the need for channel design? That's a bit obvious. Set the objectives, specify the task, develop alternatives, evaluate, choose, select. It's a bit Mickey Mouse, isn't it? And I'm not sure how much I've learned that. So channel design, there's a huge amount of factors. I quite like the Chopper and Mendel one, and I've got some decent notes on that, but that's all there is. Do you go direct, or do you sell through intermediaries? What affects the decision? Well, there's a decision-making process. There's a glib one in the study guide on e-commerce considerations: information, selling at a distance, new entrants, product returns, and this word cannibalization, which I'm sure is in my notes, which is I think where one promotion affects another product sales. So everyone stops buying big packs and buys little packs, something like that. We need to design the logistics product flow path, which I don't quite understand how is different than the distribution network. And it depends on the service levels, the portfolios and location. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, that. So typical network, well, that's an easy one, but more complex there. What influences your network design? Well, you might say costs, but it depends on number of plants you want, the level of distribution required, the number of locations, where your customers are, how much inventory. All them are top left decisions that come in. And there's a trade-off between customer service, how much inventory you've got in stock, plant facilities costs, distribution costs. So the bottom left, I would say, is everything you're optimizing in network optimization. You know, you're looking at how can we achieve the right customer service at the right cost? Well, we need this many locations with this much stock. And distribution centers, because it's physical network, can either be breaking bulk or consolidating. Single large bulk can be ordered from supplier. The distribution center can split up delivery into smaller segments, hub and spoke. Multiple items delivered by different suppliers can be combined. Ugh. And there's a diagram from the study guide on distribution centers. B and C break bulk, and A is consolidation. And there's an example there. So widgets 1, 2, and 3 are delivered by A to X, and B and C are only delivering widget 1. Bit common sense, bit off, I don't like it. Challenges: drivers have gone to the pub, fuel prices have gone up. It's a bit of a stupid list, isn't it? Political uncertainty, commoditisation, i.e. It's just bought as price and you aren't bothered about service. So that's from the study guide. I don't know what you can say about it really. Transport management. Ooh. The number and type of modes, the nature of the goods, challenges. Very hard to learn, I think, as a list. It's quite common sense, but it just gives you a few ideas if you had to discuss something on problems of transportation. Of course, it depends on the type of product, urgency, kitchen sink, no theory. Location, depends on all them factors. Service level, costs, the product mix, strategic alignment, purpose, mix. It's huge. That probably links back to the earlier slides, to be fair. Right, it's an interesting one. The study guide has a bullet point that says positioning in local, regional and global supply chains. It simply says this. Gatona says political, legal influence the decision, physical, information and communication infrastructures impact the decision on whether you've got local, regional or global. Industry trends and developments impact it, and business cultures. Repositioning could be organic or internal development, acquisitions or collaboration. It's got a page of that wishy-washy there. The old study guide was a lot better because it talked about this model from Ugulin that said, well, the challenges are needing intermodal, different infrastructures, the length of the journey, customs jurisdiction, contracts, legal jurisdictions, culture. So a bit broader on that Gatona one. And they said, well, there's 4 options in your supply chain. You can be a local defender, which just supplies locally, or you can be a global networker, or you can be an international contender, or you could be a regional ally. So there are 4 positioning strategies, which I've detailed in my notes, but it isn't in the study guide. The study guide only mentions that very glib thing there about what influences the local, regional, global reach. Well, it depends what you're selling, doesn't it? The Oxford slide showed this. You could be just selling locally, regionally or globally. And then your organisation is either small business unit or it could be corporate. Not a lot of use, I don't think, that diagram personally.
No, it looks really overly complicated.
It does, and it's quite common sense, isn't it? You know, if you're Heineken, you're going to be a global player because you're going to be distributing and selling throughout the world. You know, if you're Leeds Brewery, you're going to be probably just selling regionally. And so your supply chain's different. It's very poorly written in the study guide. The one that's very well written probably is the Lean Agile stuff, which you've done many times. The one that isn't so well written is matching supply with demand and technology. But so Lean Agile, I'm sure you're quite happy with that. So what's lean thinking? Specify value from the view of the customer.
Eliminate waste.
Yeah, it can wait. Yeah, 2 secs. Yeah,